Welcome back. Our guest today is Larry Oddo, owner of the winery at Holy Cross Abbey down in Cañon City. Larry, thanks for coming and being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Absolutely. So you're a Jersey guy. Let's talk about the journey and tell our listeners about, not only the winery at Holy Cross Abbey, but you've got a great background of how you even got into the wine business.
Well, it's crazy, right? I've been here. I'm in my 20th year,
Right.
of doing this. And prior to me acquiring the winery, I was a partner in an accounting firm in New York City. I lived in New Jersey and had worked for the same firm for 23 years. Worked my way up through the ranks, became a partner. I had been a partner for a number of years, and I can't say I woke up one day I said I wanted to own a winery, but the industry was changing. The commute. The hour and a half commute each way was getting to me. The congestion was getting to me. The climate was getting to me. And so I went on a journey to find a place that I wanted to really live and invest in the community and own my own shop. So I went through that process, and it was kind of miraculous that it pulled together through some oddball networking. I got put in contact with gentlemen that went to the boarding school down there, the boys' school.
Yeah, okay.
And was on the board of directors for this winery that they got opened in 2002. And we started chatting, and I put a proposal together, and utilizing skills that I acquired over those 23 years in public accounting, working with those clients, and I was able to get a transaction put together, some SBA-backed financing, and here we are 20 years later.
You and I know each other, and we both are East Coast people. And one of the things that we've, have in common is that for those who are listening and wondering about us Coloradans out here, how did we get here? I too had like an awakening on the Beltway one day in Washington. It was like McCartney was on the radio. He was singing Too Many People. I've heard that song so many times. And I thought to myself, you know what? The gridlock, all this there's got to be another place. So for those of you, we're not looking to invite everybody to move to Colorado, but it is a special place. I mean, so it's just neat when you get a chance to talk about becoming an entrepreneur, and you left the comforts and some of the inconveniences of living in the New York area and coming out here. So. You took a big pivot, and because you have an accounting mind, I'm wondering, did you have a background in wine, or how did you learn about wine?
Just a passion for drinking it and experiencing it with food, the whole pairing aspect. I do all the cooking in my household, and so I have a real passion for doing that as well. So, so I had learned about wine. I fell in love with wine. I read about wine, and what I really wanted to do as an accountant was to get my wine bill half paid for by the government through tax deductions.
Know the book, right? Know the laws.
And so, I had looked at other craft beverage industries as well, beer, distilling, and wine was really an area that I had the most interest in. And I have to say that, the opportunity, I wasn't looking specifically for a winery to acquire. I was looking for a shop that I wanted to own and be part of a community with. But the fact that this winery showed up on the radar and I was able to get it was pretty fascinating.
Well, and for listeners, particularly if you're not from Colorado, people tend to think of Colorado, and you think about beer. We are known for beer, and Denver, and there's a lot of places. Colorado wines are a bit of a surprise to people. The Palisades and the western slope of Colorado is where much of the fruit comes from and different things for our Colorado wines. But you are really one of the few wineries here in the Pikes Peak region, and so let's let listeners know a couple things before we get into the history of the Abbey. Tell people. where you're physically located, like where Cañon City is compared to Colorado Springs and Denver and everything else, so they know the location of what we're talking about.
Well, the winery, as you mentioned, is located in Cañon City. It's on the eastern side of Cañon City, which is an hour southwest of where we are right now in Colorado Springs. It's the point where the Arkansas River goes through the famous Royal Gorge.
Right.
So it's really it's a gateway to the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
It's kind of nestled in there between the Sangre de Cristos and the Wet Mountains, and it's got that river that runs through the Royal Gorge, and then which of course continues east towards Kansas. But
Yep.
But yeah, just basically an hour away from here.
When we talk a lot about people who come, whether they live here or they're coming to visit, they'll often put itineraries together. And so as we talk about the Abbey and Holy Cross and everything else, we will want listeners to will be sure and weave in a day trip, 2 days, what you can be doing in the kind of spoke and hub system of a lot of people who will maybe stay in Colorado Springs, but they'll look to do things. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we wind up. But let's talk about the Holy Cross Abbey Winery. For people who have not been there, talk a little bit about the history.
Well, the winery is located on that historic property,
Yeah.
the Holy Cross Abbey, and it was a working Benedictine monastery for several years. It was built in 1925.
1925.
And then it had that boarding school operating from 1925 to 1985. In its heyday, in the 50s and 60s, there was upwards of 90 monks living and working there. They've had 250 students. International, some famous, domestic, products as well. People that were there local, but just a boarding school. So it was pretty fascinating operation there for a number of years. The winery sits where the arts and crafts building was, and then the production facility was actually the auto shop.
So the winery started while it was still a boarding school, or not?
It was not.
It was not.
Yeah, so the boarding school closed in 1985.
Okay.
And there were fewer and fewer monks residing at the monastery, and they were trying to figure out their way forward, right?
Yeah,
it
to
was this
monetize.
big property that had
How many acres?
180 acres.
180 acres, yeah.
So in 2000, believe it or not, one of the monks there, Father Paul Montez, was called over to Palisade to perform an exorcism on a winery that was being built out in Palisade.
Wow.
So the owner of the winery, was experiencing all kinds of construction issues, beams falling, foul smells, and stuff like that. Yeah. And he was convinced that he needed an exorcism, and so through Bishop DeFoya in Pueblo, they contacted one of the monks there that had a specialty in exorcisms.
Yeah.
And he went out there and performed the exorcism, and by all accounts, it was successful.
All right.
But while he was out there, the monk fell in love with the Colorado wine industry, the grapevines growing along the Colorado River there, and everything like that. And he was convinced that there could be a successful winery, at thetheir property there in Cañon City. And so they planted some vines. They recruited a couple out of California to come and build a winery, build the tasting room, and they got it open in 2002.
In 2002, okay. And you have been there over 20 years?
20 years.
So in 2005?
Yeah, I acquired it at the end of 2005.
Okay. And so at that time, it was 3 years old. And how many varieties of wines were, because you're using grapes from right there. Some, okay. But even when you first started?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they had planted some Chardonnay, they planted some Riesling there. It's quite frankly, it's a horrible place in town to try to grow grapes. It's where all the frost accumulates.
Yeah.
Not great windbreaks. It doesn't have that nice microclimate that you get from the river.
Yeah.
So there are grapes being grown in the region. Not a lot grown on our property. We source primarily from Palisade. In other regions. Yeah.
Okay. So now you buy it in 2005. probably not that well known outside of maybe Cañon City. At that point, I imagine that the monks were, being good at what they were doing, but they may not have. And the folks from California, you certainly had challenges in terms of marketing and what's it like to find labor to work in a winery? How's that work?
Well, it would work much better if I was really located within a wine-producing region,
Yes,
like Napa or Sonoma, or even Palisade, for that matter.
Yeah.
It's highly specialized, and there's not a lot of people that have beverage manufacturing experience. And
Sure.
so it's hard. It's a challenge, but
Yeah.
we try to lean on other industries. Cañon City, Royal Gorge Region, Arkansas River is a great place for rafting, commercial rafting.
Yep.
And we've had great success with hiring people out of the rafting industry as they get older and they start feeling the aches and pains of being on the river every
Sure.
day, and they're looking for a more stable, secure profession and career. And so we've had a lot of success hiring from that group.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the experience for visitors and coming into the winery. Let's talk about the experience starting with like the tasting room and what are some of your top sellers that people should know to come down and try.
Well, it's a great property to visit. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
It's very peaceful, very serene, very pastoral.
Plenty of
So-
parking. It's great.
Plenty of parking.
Yeah.
I mean, great lawn. People can come down and have picnics, and we don't charge for the space. And,
Yeah.
But for the most part, when people visit, they have the option to either go for flights, sampling of our different wines, or they can reserve in advance for a VIP, which comes with some charcuterie items. Most of our tasting is done outside on a beautiful patio or covered veranda, and we do that year round.
Yeah.
Because we have it partially enclosed and heated for the
It's-
cooler months.
Exactly.
Our biggest sellers are it's our signature white wine is Riesling. There's a lot of it planted in Colorado. It's actually in our own vineyard. But Riesling is our largest program, and it's waned a little bit over the years. Its popularity was
Okay.
it was the darling of the wine world in the late 2000s and the early 2010s. But it's still something that we produce in one of our largest programs. Our signature red wine is Merlot.
Yep.
And we've done really well with Merlots over the years, whether it's our regular standalone varietal or our reserve.
Yep.
Highly rated in Wine Enthusiast magazine and various international competitions. But aren't the only two.
Of course.
We have 19 labels right now.
Yeah.
19 varietals with two different labels. We have the traditional Winery Holy Cross Abbey label,
Which
and
is
then-
such a cool look.
And then a couple of years ago, we introduced the As Above, So Below
Okay.
label, which is kind of a nod to organized religion before it was actually organized.
Yeah.
A little some pagan symbolatry and just talking about hermetic principles and the oneness of the universe and the earth and how it all
Sure.
ties together with some playful names like alchemist and
Yeah.
theurgist and astrologist.
And of all of the 19 different varieties, your wines are also available for purchase outside of the Abbey as well, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've
as
seen
much
them.
as we'd love to see people come and visit us and taste the wines in the tasting room. We could ship to just about 35 states,
Right.
direct to consumer. But then also we have 200 locations up and down the Front Range where
Yep.
liquor stores and wine shops will carry our product, and locals can go and pick it up there.
Exactly. So that's part of what we want, locals that might be listening to know is that if you've never tried these, and you're A, try it for yourselves, but B, if you've got friends and family coming to visit, this is a great place to go down, but you can give them a sample before they even get there to experience what that is like. Larry, some of the ways that people measure a winery, or is they'll talk about cases, like how many cases does somebody produce in a year? How big is the winery?
So right now we're planning on doing 6,000
6,000 cases.
6,000 cases this year.
Okay.
It's down from past years, and that's just a contraction of the alcohol industry, the wine industry in general. And
Okay.
there's a lot of factors that go into that, but we're just continuously trying to evolve and pivot and find ways to reach people where they want to be. And there's still plenty of folks out there that want to experience the wonderment of wine and the romance of the vineyard. And so we just need to continue to reach them and provide them with a fun, relaxing, educational, but non-pretentious kind of experience.
Yep. 6,000, so that will be from the highest number. What's the most you've ever produced cases in a year?
11,000.
11,000. So you're at 6,000 now. And you really do look at that as you talk with your peers around the state and around the country. That is kind of a sign of the times that people are they just drinking less wine? Or what does the industry look like?
Wine consumption is down around the world.
Around the world.
In Colorado, I know this because I chair the Colorado Wine Industry Development Board, and I have access and knowledge of tax revenues.
Yep.
Wine excise tax revenues are down this year compared to last year, roughly 8 to 10%. And that's just volume. That's not dollar amount or anything like that. It's just that's just volume. So that just shows that people are drinking less. The reasons that are attributable to that is that the wine industry has traditionally been one for the boomers. Boomers are starting to age out. They're spending less, they're buying less, they're drinking less because of health reasons or other reasons. The younger demographic, they have much more in the way of competing inebriants, whether it's hard seltzers or it's the beer or it's the distilled spirits. Or even cannabis, right? So there's lots of things that are playing on why the younger demographic doesn't embrace wine the way the boomers do.
Yeah, okay. So this is, I think, insightful. I'm sure that listeners can nod and understand and relate to a little bit and what it's like to be in your shoes. So when you think about that trend, and there's nothing you can personally do about that trend, but as a business owner, what do you do to kind of offset a trend like that? Are you able, other than reduce the number of cases, are there things that you're doing at the winery to supplement or to incent people to come and spend some money while they're there?
Well, there's a couple of things that we're doing. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're doubling down on our quality initiatives, right? We're just trying to make the best wine we can. As a boutique winery, we can't produce wine at mass-produced prices, right? So there's going to be a little bit more expensive bottle.
Yep.
But people who are into local and they're into supporting what craft beverage manufacturing is all about is willing to pay for that, as long as the quality is there, right?
That's exactly right.
So it's got to taste like wine that they expect to get from France or Italy or from California, and that's what we try to do. We try to kind of just focus on that quality and make sure the wine tastes like something that people want to drink.
Exactly.
And then we're trying to reach out to different markets. What's great is fantastic this year. We got placed in Yellowstone National Park. We've got 3 wines going to Yellowstone National Park, our Syrah, our Merlot, and our Theurgis, which is part of that as above, so below. It's a red blend. It's fun. It uses hybrid grapes, and it's at a lower price point, and so they're going to be selling that by the glass at all the outlets up there in Yellowstone, and that's a first for a Colorado winery. So we're doing things to try to distinguish ourselves from our competition, the rest of the Colorado wine, and the rest of the wine that's out there on the shelves. And then as far as getting visitors there, we just try to provide the best experience that we can, but as part of that is throwing some pretty nifty events, right? So
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So each spring we have our spring wine extravaganza, and it's a ticketed event. It's limited, it's intimate, but we feature some new releases, some things we're really excited about. We offer some really deep discounts. on those wines, given an opportunity for people to buy and try different things. We provide some live entertainment. We open up the production facility. We do some barrel tastings. And this is kind of geared towards our loyal,
Yeah.
consistent
Yeah.
customers, our wine club members, our congregation wine club, kind of.
Got it. Sure. Sure.
And then we partner with some different groups during the year. We have a wine 5K that
Okay.
runs at the end of August, beginning of September each
Yep.
year. And they run around the Abbey and they come and they drink wine. It's crazy, but
Yeah. It's like Jack Quinn's here on Tuesday nights downtown.
Yeah.
People go around, run around town, and then they come and drink beer. So, yeah, got it.
And then our marquee event is last full weekend in September,
Yeah.
and that's our Harvest Fest. It's
The
a
Harvest
2-day
Fest is unbelievable.
festival, music, food, wine, artisans, craftspeople, and we draw between 4,000 and 5,000 people to that event each year. And we kick that off on Friday night with our annual winemakers dinner.
Yeah.
Usually 8 or 9 courses, 8 or 9 wines, 3-hour event.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite nights of the year,
Yeah.
and it's a one of the best food and wine events in Southern Colorado. We
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
of course, we're a little biased, but
Well, I've enjoyed it twice. I will attest. Yeah, it's fabulous. Great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what your recommendations to people would be after they spend some time with you at the winery. What are some other things that you would suggest people do in the Cañon City Royal Gorge region?
Well, that's an easy question for me, right? Because before I moved to Cañon City, I explored all the things that were available to do in the realm of outdoor recreation or
Yeah.
attractions. And I think it's fantastic that I live in a place that has so many things to offer right in my backyard.
Yep.
Right, and so we're talking about the Royal Gorge region. So that's kind of like a no-brainer. It's like, how many ways can you enjoy the Royal Gorge? Of course, you got the iconic bridge.
Bridge and Park.
Right?
Yep.
And so you can either walk across that span, or you can take the gondola, or you can do some of the other
Zip line.
zip line, right? It's zip line across the things.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah.
and we're up there, at least 4 or 5 times a season just to enjoy the beauty that's there in the backyard. Below the bridge is the river, right? And you got a tourist train, a scenic train ride
Yep,
that
Royal
runs
Gorge,
the
right.
Royal Gorge Railroad. And then rafting.
Yep.
You got the commercial rafting companies that raft through the gorge.
Right.
And then in the last decade or so, we've kind of focused on hiking and biking trails. And there are a number of trails that run across the rim
Yep.
of the Royal Gorge. And
Yeah.
so, 10 minutes from parking your car, you can be looking down into that great cavern there. That's fantastic.
And let's talk a little bit about downtown Cañon City, because it's transformed itself.
Yeah, it's actually one of the most preserved, longest stretches of downtown, historic downtown in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's great. I think it runs about 10 blocks or something like that.
I think
and
you're
it has
right.
All these old buildings that are really well preserved. Thriving restaurant scene, some shops, some great shopping opportunities down there.
Yeah.
And they have a number of events on Main Street as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, so Larry is really describing like a perfect day or 2 days in the Royal Gorge region, including Cañon City. Again, it's about an hour southwest of Colorado Springs, and really, really worth the visit. So let me just give a nod to our sponsor for today. If you're looking for a fun, family-friendly event that's out of this world, join us at Space Foundation Discovery Center on Saturday, May 3rd for the National Space Day community event. From 10 to 4, you can explore interactive exhibits, meet real astronauts, enjoy hands-on STEM activities, and so much more. It's free to attend and perfect for curious explorers of all ages. To learn more, go to discoverspace.org. And again, that's Saturday, May 3rd, National Space Day community event. Okay, so Larry, we like to, on the program, talk to people. We get 3 questions that I want to ask you to think about. And the first one, I want you, this is a Colorado Springs question, okay? I want you to describe Colorado Springs to listeners in 3 words.
You said you were going to not ask me anything that was going to stump me. I mean, that's 3 words.
That's it. That's it.
I would say Olympic City,
Okay.
Pikes Peak,
Yeah.
Red Rocks.
And Red Rocks. Okay. Yeah. Red Rocks. Okay, good. Now, let's also let me ask you about 3 words to describe the Cañon City Royal Gorge region. How would you describe that?
I would just say, hidden gem,
Hidden gem.
outdoor recreational opportunities,
Yep.
that are bound.
Yeah.
And Banana Belt, climate capital of Colorado.
Yeah. And great wine. Great wine. Okay, good. So you talked about a hidden gem. What is your favorite hidden gem in the Pikes Peak region? Like, where do you like to go?
Well, I mean, Pikes Peak region,
Yeah.
including Cañon City.
Yeah,
is that
in
right?
Colorado Springs, however you want to do it.
I mean, I think it's crazy. Nobody talks about the golf enough.
The golf, right? Okay, yeah.
I just, there's a couple of golf courses down in the Royal Gorge region.
What are your favorites?
I play 4 Mile.
4 Mile?
4 Mile Ranch is a Jim Eng design course. And Jim Eng's got some courses in some pretty swanky places throughout Colorado.
Okay.
And this is an opportunity to play a Jim Eng design course. Pretty much 12 months out of the year. There's
Yeah.
a couple of weekends that were blocked out, but for the most part, we can play year round. And I know that course gets a lot of play from Colorado Springs. There are a lot of people that come down there for the day to play
Yeah.
the course, and hopefully they come into town and spend some money at our restaurants and
Yeah.
gas stations and wineries.
Fantastic, exactly. All right, so you've lived here 20 years.
Yeah.
What is still on your bucket list? What have you not done?
I've done a lot.
Yeah, I have no doubt. No doubt.
I guess that would indicate that I really don't have a bucket list of things
Okay.
that I need to
All right.
accomplish. I've run a winery successfully for 20 years. I've gotten involved with our community down there in
Sure.
lots of different ways. I've got a whitewater park built. I've got schools built as part of my tenure on the Board of Education. I've
Yeah.
been involved with tourism. I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I've made an impact on a lot of things.
Sure.
In our community, and so there's really not much else that I want to be able to accomplish except.
Okay.
I'm 63 years old. I'm looking at, my potential exit. I do not have a child that's interested in the business. And so right now I'm heavily focused on securing the legacy for the winery to make sure that
Succession.
it's succeeded. Yeah, it's either purchased by somebody that's got
Sure.
the same passion for wine, or my employees continue to be able to work there, and that the community continues to have that asset. That is my primary bucket list item.
Sure. Well, so for anybody listening, if you put yourself where Larry was back in 2000 and 2002, and you're about to start a journey of what that next chapter might be in your life, you should stop in and talk to Larry at the Holy Cross Winery. Larry, thank you very, very much. I want to ask you to be sure and tell listeners where they can learn more all about the winery.
abbeywinery.com. www.abbeywinery.com is our website. We're on the socials as well, Instagram and Facebook. And there's a lot of information about the winery available on the
Sure.
Visit Colorado Springs website.
Yes, there is.
As well as the Royal Gorge Region.
Yeah.
.com on that as well. So it doesn't take much to find us. We're really easily located there on Highway 50 as you head into town.
Yep.
And it's a great stop either on the way in or on the way out.
Yep.
And we love visitors.
And it's worth the trip. Absolutely. Larry, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Doug.
Yep.